Now we'll look at what makes a SUVACO, and we'll look at some of the English translations of this word, as well as briefly looking at the 16 qualities. We won't go into such great detail given that we've done quite a lot of analysis in duvaco. But one of the key things to bear in mind when we go through SUVACO is what kind of attitude do we need to actually manifest. And the attitude that is really important when it comes to SUVACO is that one is open, that one remains open to listen, to hear, to actually take on what another person has kindly come and instructed us or given us feedback about. And to remember that with this kind of openness, it doesn't mean that you have to just simply accept what is said. What it means is that you're willing to listen, and then you're willing to go away and contemplate and investigate for yourself. Is this really true? Is this something that is hindering my path? Is what this person has seen really to be observed? And to actually have an attitude of kindness to the person who is actually telling you these things. The other thing is to remember that the person that is coming to teach you, the person that is coming to instruct you, and the person that is willing to give you feedback, this kind of person is someone who is out of kindness is coming to do it. Always remember that usually it is for your benefit that they are doing it, not for their own. And even if it is something that is difficult, the fact that they come and tell you is actually, and if they come in a gentle way, then you know there is something authentic and genuine about this person, that this person isn't coming to actually shout at you or make problems. They're actually coming to you usually in a very gentle manner. And so that's something to think of as a blessing rather than something to be afraid of. The other thing to say is sometimes these people can also be quite scared to give us feedback, and the fact that they actually do is also quite a wondrous thing. So those are the two main things to bear in mind as we go through SUVACO. There are a number of English translations for SUVACO. The most common one is easy to instruct, also easy to admonish. Then you have amenable, open or willing to hear feedback, willing to listen, obedient. Obedient also appears quite a lot, although some people don't quite like that translation. However, when you really get to the root of this particular quality, obedient is actually quite a good translation, because if you're willing to receive feedback and you're willing to be instructed, then it follows that one becomes obedient to those instructions and to that feedback. You're obedient to actually change. Then you have meek, compliant, docile, yielding. So this is very much like the following two: non-defiant, non-resistant, that you don't resist when you're approved. You yield when someone gives you some constructive feedback or instruction, and you're willing to follow the instructions. I think that's one of the things about SUVACO, is that you're willing to follow instructions. So for example, if the Buddha says, this is the knowledge pathway, and this is the instructions. If you do this, you should get this result. And if you do that, you will get that result. And it's willing to follow those instructions, such as what we're going through in Anumana Sutta, that you're willing to actually step by step go through. And then when you actually practice it, either in daily life, or actually you practice it even in meditation, you see the good results. And also you see the results if you follow the knowledge pathway that shows you where you go wrong, that you actually see, this is what happens. And so part of being SUVACO is that you're willing to follow the instructions. That's also part of being easy to instruct, easy to admonish. And if someone says to you, you're not even following the precise instructions of the Buddha, you're willing to take that on, to actually say, okay, let me look at that. And then you can say, do you have an example? And if the person gives you the example, you investigate that. Is that really true? What I find when it comes to SUVACO, the reason why people cannot understand the Dhamma, cannot realize the Buddha's teachings, is because something as simple as following the instructions that the Buddha gives, following the examples and the instructions that the Arahants give, people are unwilling to do it. And when you point that out, people actually say, but I don't need to do it. And you say, but actually, if you read the sutta, if you read how the Buddha taught this particular teaching, then this is what the Buddha said. This is what Venerable Mahamoggallana said. And if you don't actually apply it in daily life or in the actual formal meditation itself, then you're not going to get the results and you're not going to progress on the path. And there is always a danger that you're practicing the wrong pathway. Venerable Mahamoggallana lists out the 16 qualities that make one easy to instruct, or SUVACO. The first is, has no evil wishes and is not dominated by evil wishes. 2, does not glorify oneself nor has contempt for others. 3, not angry nor allows anger to overcome. 4, not angry nor resentful because of anger. 5, not angry nor stubborn because of anger. 6, not angry and does not utter words bordering on anger. 7, when reproved does not resist the reprover. 8, when reproved does not denigrate the reprover. 9, when reproved does not counter-reprove the reprover. 10, when reproved does not prevaricate, lead aside, nor show anger, hate and bitterness. And 11, when reproved does not fail to account for one's conduct. 12, is not derogatory nor disparaging. 13, is not envious nor stingy. 14, is not fraudulent nor deceitful. 15, is not obstinate and arrogant. And 16, does not adhere to one's own views, nor holds on to them tenaciously and relinquishes them with ease, or relinquishes them easily. So this knowledge pathway is very, very significant in the fact that it's not breeding any mental stains, and it's not leading to misconduct in terms of where those mental stains, if they did exist, would manifest themselves. And essentially what this SUVACO is saying is that one comes from the right view, that when it comes to Buddha's teachings, that if someone is willing to instruct in the Buddha's teachings, if someone is willing to give constructive feedback in terms of practicing Buddha's teachings, that this kind of person who has these qualities, they actually are willing to bend. There's a malleability to the way that they practice, and they're always open for this kind of feedback. And therefore they don't actually have any evil wishes. They don't have any of these qualities that manifest in anger or rejecting any kind of feedback or instruction, and therefore don't have the mental defilements that makes one easy to instruct. And at the end result of that is that the view that one holds is always the view that maybe I have it wrong, and I'm willing to bend to see someone who I have faith and conviction in. And when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, what you're actually giving up is saying, I don't fully understand Buddha's view, but I have faith and confidence in Buddha's perfect enlightenment, that the fact that he is the perfect teacher, that whatever I have been able to practice, whether it's generosity or whether it's renunciation, whether it's discipline, that whatever I have practiced, I've seen the good result. And so from that point of view, anything else that I can't see that I'm holding on to, I'm willing to submit to the Buddha's instruction, and anybody who is willing to show me Buddha's instruction and Buddha's knowledge pathways and the method for practicing the Noble Eightfold Path. And I think that is the crux of this quality of SUVACO. One is willing to bend to see the Buddha's wise words and the words of the Arahants, which repeat that of the Buddha, and willing to be open to see where one is not perfect, that one actually admits to being a trainee, a seeker, and then on top of that to actually say, in order to progress on this path, I'm willing to accept something that I haven't myself constructed, and constructed from potentially a wrong place, because as a seeker, one is not perfect, so I'm willing to accept it from the perfected ones. There's also a reference to SUVACO being easy to instruct in the Kalkachupama Sutta, which is in the Middle Length Discourses, and it's discourse number 21, and it's the discourse on the simile of the saw. Now in this, the Buddha is giving teachings on qualities of various monks, And in this, he makes reference to being easy to instruct. And he says this: I don't say that a mendicant is easy to instruct if they make themselves easy to instruct only for the sake of robes, alms food, lodgings, and medicines and supplies for the sick. Why is that? Because when they don't get robes, alms food, lodgings, and medicines and supplies for the sick, they're no longer easy to instruct. But when a mendicant is easy to instruct purely because they honor, respect, revere, worship, and venerate the teaching, then I say that they're easy to instruct. So mendicants, you should train yourselves. We will be easy to instruct purely because we honor, respect, revere, worship, and venerate the teaching, the Dhamma. That's how you should train. Now, when you contemplate this teaching from the Buddha in the Kakachupama Sutta, what you realize is that if it's around personal gain, and this applies to lay practitioners as well, that it is for personal gain, whether it's reputational gain or material gain, then there's something not quite right around the practice, and it doesn't necessarily make you easy to instruct. So the Buddha is actually emphasizing that one needs to actually examine, particularly from a viewpoint of what you venerate. And in this case, if one wants to be easy to instruct, then it's quite clear that the honor, the respect, the veneration must go towards the Dhamma itself, the actual teaching. And so that's something pretty pointed that is given by the Buddha. The other thing to say about SUVACO is that quite often we are not so caught up in a sense of self when it comes to SUVACO. The duvaco qualities, the ones of not being easy to admonish, not being easy to instruct, that comes from a place where you hold very strong views around this sense of self. You can see that when you go down the qualities. But when you look at the qualities of SUVACO, you're actually very malleable. You're not actually trying to construct a self and maintain that self. And so when you're not always trying to control conditions, and you're not trying to control how people perceive you, and you're not caught up in the thoughts and the views that come from that juxtaposition, that central focal point, then what you find is that it's quite easy to be SUVACO, that you're willing to listen to others, you're willing to be admonished and given feedback, and to actually see, I actually genuinely want to follow the teaching of the Buddha. And so SUVACO has that quality to it.